The skies over Varela were always grey. No sunlight had touched the ground for many years. The air was cold and thin. Tall buildings stood like broken bones, their walls cracked and empty. Plants no longer grew. Rivers had dried up. The once beautiful planet was slowly dying, and the people were dying with it. Commander Ulick stood on top of a tower, looking at the sky. His dark green armor was old and scratched. His eyes were tired. Behind him, his city was silent. Only a few thousand Virelians were left. They had no food, no medicine, and no power. Every day, more people gave up. Children stopped playing. Elders stopped speaking. Even the strong had grown weak. Ulick was one of the few who still believed in fighting. He had led missions to find food, to search for help, to protect the people. But nothing worked. No ships had come from the stars in over 50 years. Their calls for help were never answered. It was as if the galaxy had forgotten them. Then something strange happened. Ulick saw a light in the sky. It was small, bright, and moving fast. At first, he thought it was a falling star. But it didn't burn like one. It didn't vanish. It grew bigger and brighter, heading toward the surface. The air shook. A loud boom followed. The light crashed into the ground outside the city, far beyond the dead forest. The ground trembled beneath Ulick's feet. He stared at the smoke rising in the distance. It wasn't a star. It was something else. Something from the sky. Something alive. Without waiting, Ulick called his team. He chose 3 of his best. Rayla, a smart engineer. Vaughn, a silent but brave fighter. And Teller, a young scout with sharp eyes. They left the city and moved quickly through the wasteland. Dead trees stood like black sticks. Ash covered the ground. The wind carried the smell of dust and old death. After hours of walking, they reached the crash site. The soil was burned. A wide hole smoked in the ground. At the center was a strange metal object shaped like a pod. It was silver, covered in black lines, and still glowing with heat. Steam hissed from small cracks. Ulick gave the signal. They moved slowly, weapons ready. The pod made a soft hum. Then a click. A panel opened on the side. Everyone froze. A hand reached out, covered in metal. Then a figure stepped out, tall and strong, wearing heavy armor. The armor was dark gray with glowing blue lines. A helmet hid the face. The figure fell to one knee, weak or injured. The armor was scratched and burned. Ulick stepped closer and saw words written on the chest plate. Earth's Fury, Unit 9. Rayla gasped. Earth, she whispered. No one had seen or heard of Earth in many years. It was just a story now. A myth. But this was real. A soldier from Earth had fallen from the sky. Ulick ordered them to carry the figure back. It was heavy, but they managed. The city guards stared as they returned, eyes wide with shock. Children peeked from behind walls. People whispered. For the first time in years, there was a spark of curiosity, a reason to hope. They placed the armored figure in the old medical center. Rayla worked to remove the helmet. It took hours, but finally, it came off with a soft hiss. Inside was a human. Pale skin, short brown hair, a long scar across his cheek. His eyes were closed. He was breathing, but only just. Rayla found a small device on his arm. It had a screen with strange symbols. She pressed a button, and a calm voice spoke from the armor. System damaged. Life support active. Unit 9. Alex Mason. Status: injured. Origin: Earth Defense Command. The room went silent. Ulick stared at the human. A soldier from Earth, falling from the sky, landing here after so many years. Was he a savior? A danger? Why was he here? And why now? Rayla said, "What if this isn't an accident? What if Earth sent him to help?" Vaughn shook his head. Or to finish what others started. No one knew the truth. But one thing was clear. The sky had sent something back, and the silence of the stars was broken. As the sun set behind the thick clouds, the lights on the human's armor began to glow again. Slowly, his fingers moved. His eyes opened. He looked at them with confusion, then tried to speak. Only one word came out before he lost consciousness again. Help. Ulick turned to his team. Watch him. Protect him. Tomorrow, we find out why Earth's fury has come to Varela. The following day, Ulick stood in front of the small medical center, watching the sky. The clouds were thick as always, but there was something different now. A tiny sliver of hope had begun to grow in the hearts of the Varelians. Earth's fury had arrived, and no one knew what it meant yet, but it felt important. The arrival of the soldier had changed something in the air. Inside, the human, Alex Mason, was still unconscious. Rayla had been working all night, carefully examining the armor and the strange device on his arm. She found that the armor was more advanced than anything they had ever seen. It was built to withstand harsh environments, protect from extreme temperatures, and even fight off small weapons. But more than that, it had an AI system that seemed to be in charge of the human's health. Mason's eyes flickered open just as Rayla was finishing her work. He blinked, his vision blurry. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his body, and he groaned softly. He looked around confused. This wasn't the inside of a ship. It was a strange, dark room with unfamiliar faces. Ulick stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. You're safe. We found you after your ship crashed. Mason's eyes widened. I'm not on Earth, he whispered, his voice weak. No, Ulick replied. This is Varela. You are on a dying planet. The human blinked again, trying to sit up fully, but he struggled. Rayla gently pushed him back down. You need to rest. You've been hurt. Mason's mind was still foggy, but he couldn't help the rising panic. What happened? How did I get here? You were sent here, Rayla answered, her voice soft. Your armor says you're from Earth, but you're not alone. Your mission was a long one. You've been sleeping for a long time. The word Earth caught Mason's attention. He stayed at Rayla for a moment, his face twisting in disbelief. Earth? No, that's impossible. We haven't heard from Earth in many years, Ulick said. No ships, no messages, nothing. But you came from the sky. Mason's breathing grew heavy. I was part of the Earth Defense Command. I was supposed to protect the planet. But something happened. We were attacked. By who? Vaughn asked, his voice sharp. Mason closed his eyes, his face tightening. It wasn't aliens. It was something worse. A group of humans from a colony called Nova Prime. They turned against us. They believe the galaxy is a threat. So they began destroying worlds. Varela is just the first. The room went silent. Ulick's eyes narrowed. Why would humans do this? Destroy another world? For what? Mason sighed deeply, the weight of the truth weighing on him. They believe that only humans should control the galaxy. They think that aliens are a danger to humanity's survival. So they destroy everything in their path. They call it purging. Rayla gasped. But why would they do that? Mason looked at the floor. I don't know. But Nova Prime is dangerous. They have weapons. They have technology far beyond what Earth ever built. They've been attacking peaceful planets, and Varela was just the first. I was sent to stop them, but I failed. They caught us. My ship was shot down. I don't even know how I ended up here. Ulick stepped forward. So they plan to attack Earth next. Mason's face was grim. Yes, they will come for Earth, and if they succeed, they'll wipe out everything. Every living thing. You, me, all of us. It won't stop. Ulick felt the weight of the words in his chest. Varela was already dying. The last of their people were barely holding on. But Earth had something different. It had the hope of billions, the last chance for humanity to survive. And now that chance was here, in the form of a fallen soldier. "We will help you," Ulick said, his voice steady. "We may be few, but we will fight." Mason's eyes met his, tired but thankful. "You don't know what you're getting into. Nova Prime isn't just a colony. They've taken everything from us. They have no mercy." "We have nothing left to lose," Rayla said quietly, standing by Ulick's side. "We fought our own battle for survival. If they come for Earth, we will fight them too." Mason looked at her and then at the others in the room. There was something in their eyes, a fire, a determination, even in the face of such fear. For the first time in a long time, Mason believed there was hope. "We can't do it alone," Mason said slowly, sitting up straighter. "But if we work together, we might have a chance." Ulick nodded. "Then we begin today. Tomorrow we learn more. We find out everything we can about Nova Prime." Mason's heart felt heavy, but for the first time in a long time, it wasn't just the weight of failure. It was the weight of something new, hope. The days that followed were filled with preparation. The air in Varella's hidden city felt different now. There was a sense of urgency that hadn't been there before. Commander Ulick, Mason, Rayla, Vaughn, and Tala worked together, gathering everything they could find. Old weapons, broken tech, anything that could be used to fight. The Varelians had never seen weapons like the ones Mason spoke of, but he trained them quickly, showing them how to use the guns and how to fight. But even with all the preparations, Mason couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. "We need to find Nova Prime," Mason said, his eyes dark with worry. "And we need to do it fast. They're not just hiding. They've got a plan, and if they're not stopped soon, they'll destroy everything." Rayla worked on repairing Mason's damaged suit. The tech inside it was incredible. She had never seen anything like it before. But as she worked, she noticed something strange. The armor had a hidden compartment, almost impossible to see. Inside, there was a small black box. It was sealed shut, and when she tried to open it, a warning flashed on the screen. "Unauthorized access. Danger." Rayla stepped back, her hands trembling. She had seen warnings like this before, when a piece of tech was far too dangerous for anyone but the owner to touch. She showed it to Mason. "I didn't know that was there," Mason said, his voice tense. "That box, it holds something important. I was supposed to deliver it to Earth Command, but it never made it." Ulick stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Mason hesitated. "I don't know. I was never told. But if Nova Prime knows about it, they'll stop at nothing to get it. They've been hunting for it ever since we left Earth." Ulick felt a tightness in his chest. If this was truly something that dangerous, it could change everything. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Meanwhile, Vaughn and Tala had been scouting the area, trying to find any signs of Nova Prime's presence. They found something that made their hearts drop, a hidden underground base far to the north. It was deep within the mountains, hidden from sight, protected by thick walls of rock and dirt. "We need to go there," Ulick said after hearing their report. Now. The journey to the base was long and dangerous. The land around them was a wasteland, bare, empty, and filled with dangerous creatures that had once been kept at bay by the planet's natural balance. Now, with the planet dying, the creatures were growing wild. Ulick's team moved quickly, avoiding the monsters that lurked in the shadows. They knew that time was running out. When they finally reached the entrance of the base, it was everything they feared and more. The entrance was hidden beneath layers of rock, almost impossible to find unless you knew exactly where to look. The walls were thick and reinforced. The air smelled stale, and a strange hum came from deep within the earth. Something was alive inside. Mason's heart pounded. "This is it," he said. "This is where they're hiding." They slipped inside through a small crack in the wall. The inside of the base was dark, quiet, and empty. But Mason felt something else, the presence of danger. The walls were lined with strange technology, machines that hummed with power. The air was thick with the smell of metal and machinery. But most importantly, the place felt like a trap. "This is too easy," Mason muttered under his breath. "They're waiting for us." Ulick turned to him, his expression hard. "Do you know what we're looking for?" Mason nodded. "It's a weapon. A powerful one. It's not just a bomb or a weapon of war. It's something that can change the balance of power in the galaxy. And Nova Prime wants it." Rayla looked at the tech surrounding them. What kind of weapon could be so dangerous? Mason didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked around the room, his eyes scanning every detail. "I don't know. But I do know that if Nova Prime gets their hands on it, there won't be anything left. They'll use it to control everything." The team moved deeper into the base. As they walked, Mason's mind raced. If this weapon was as dangerous as he feared, they couldn't let it fall into the wrong hands. But how could they stop Nova Prime? They were just a small group of survivors, facing an enemy that was much stronger and better prepared. Then, as they reached the heart of the base, they found something that made their blood run cold. There, on a table, was a strange black box. The same kind that was inside Mason's armor. And standing next to it was a figure, tall, imposing, and wearing a uniform that was unmistakable. It was a human, but not like Mason. This man's face was cold, calculating. His eyes glowed with a strange light. "You shouldn't have come here," the man said, his voice calm but filled with power. "Nova Prime is here to stay. And now, so are we." The man standing before them was not just any soldier. He was a leader, and his presence sent a chill through the room. His uniform, dark and decorated with symbols of Nova Prime, marked him as someone important, someone dangerous. Mason's body tensed. He recognized the man instantly. The enemy. The one who had been responsible for the attack on Earth. The one who had helped bring destruction to his world. "Commander Strand," Mason said, his voice hard with anger. "You should have stayed hidden. You won't get away with this." Strand smiled coldly. "Oh, I already have. Your people failed. Earth failed. And now, this planet, like so many others, will fall to Nova Prime." Ulick stepped forward, his hands tightening on his weapon. "We're not going to let you destroy Varela or Earth. Whatever you're planning, it ends here." Strand didn't seem worried. Instead, he motioned to the black box on the table. "This weapon is the future. It's the power we need to control everything. We've already taken it from Earth's vaults. You've only delayed the inevitable." Mason's heart raced. The box. This was it. The weapon that could change everything. But what was it? What did it do? He had no idea, but he knew it was too dangerous to fall into Strand's hands. "You're making a mistake," Mason said, taking a step forward. "You think you're protecting humanity, but all you're doing is spreading death. Earth doesn't need to be saved by destruction." Strand's eyes glowed with a strange, unsettling light. "You don't understand. Nova Prime is humanity's salvation. This galaxy is full of weak, useless creatures that will destroy us if we don't act first. We have to take control. We have to be the rulers. By killing everyone." Ulick's voice was low, but the anger was clear. Strand laughed. "If necessary. But it doesn't have to be that way. You could join us. Together, we could wipe out every threat, every alien. We could make Earth great again. You could be part of the new order." Mason's face twisted with disgust. "That's not the Earth I fought for. That's not what we stand for." Strand's smile faded. "Then you're a fool." With a sudden motion, Strand grabbed the black box and held it high. "You can't stop us. Nova Prime will rise, and Earth's fury will burn everything in its path." Mason wasn't afraid. He knew what had to be done. He had to stop Strand before it was too late. His fingers itched for the weapon on his back, but he couldn't make a move. Not yet. Strand had the advantage. Without warning, Vaughn lunged forward. His hands shot out, grabbing Strand's arm. "This ends now." Strand growled, throwing Vaughn off with a powerful shove. The sound of metal hitting stone echoed through the room. Teller and Rayla moved quickly, aiming their weapons at Strand. But Strand wasn't scared. He was ready for them. He pressed a button on the black box, and a bright red light flashed, filling the room with an intense heat. The ground beneath them shook. Ulick's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Strand's grin returned. "You've just activated the weapon. No matter where you go, it will find you. Nova Prime will always have the power. Earth will fall. Varela will fall. And soon, the whole galaxy will fall." Before anyone could respond, the walls of the base began to tremble. A loud, shrill alarm sounded through the halls. The black box hummed with power, sending waves of energy through the room. Mason felt the temperature rise, his suit heating up. His mind raced. He had to act fast, or everything would be lost. "Rayla," Mason shouted. "The suit. Override the weapon." Rayla didn't hesitate. She rushed to Mason, tapping furiously on her device. "I'm trying. It's locked. But I can break the signal. I just need a few seconds." Strand watched them, amusement in his eyes. "You're wasting your time. The countdown has already started. Nothing can stop it now." But Mason wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Not after everything they had been through. "Vaughn, Teller," Mason yelled, his voice sharp. "Get Strand. Now." Without waiting, Vaughn charged again, this time tackling Strand to the ground. Strand fought back, but the force of Vaughn's strength was too much. He dropped the black box, sending it skidding across the floor. Teller grabbed it, but before she could press the button to deactivate it, the door to the room slammed open. More soldiers poured in, all wearing the same dark uniforms as Strand. "This is just the beginning," Strand spat, struggling against Vaughn's hold. "You think you've won. You haven't even begun to see what Nova Prime can do." Mason's eyes locked on Strand's, his heart pounding in his chest. "We haven't won yet, but we will, together." And with that, the battle began. The battle inside the hidden base was chaos. Strand's soldiers flooded the room, their weapons raised, eyes filled with cold determination. But Ulick, Mason, and the rest of the team fought back with everything they had. The Varelians, though outnumbered and underpowered, fought with the desperation of a people who had nothing left to lose. Vaughn slammed his fist into one of Strand's soldiers, knocking him to the ground. Teller moved quickly, dodging attacks and taking down enemies with precision. Rayla used the moment to break into the black box, her fingers flying over the buttons on her device. Sweat trickled down her face as she tried to override the weapon's countdown. The sound of explosions echoed through the halls, shaking the walls and filling the air with smoke. Strand's soldiers were relentless, but the Varelians fought with a strength born of their survival instincts. They would not let Varela die. They would not let Earth fall. Mason and Ulick moved side by side, covering each other's backs. Every time Strand's soldiers came too close, they were pushed back. Mason's eyes stayed locked on Strand, who was still struggling under Vaughn's grip, but his focus was broken by the constant threat of the soldiers around them. Strand's voice cut through the chaos. "You think you can stop us? You think you can change the future? You're nothing. Nova Prime will rise, and you're just in the way." Mason growled, pushing forward to meet Strand. "You're wrong. We're not the ones in the way. You are, and this fight ends today." With a quick motion, Mason knocked one of Strand's soldiers aside, rushing forward and grabbing Strand by the collar. "You've caused enough pain. No more. We're taking you down right now." Strand's eyes flashed with hatred. "You're a fool. You can't stop what's coming. Even if you defeat me here, Nova Prime will never fall. It's bigger than you." Mason shook his head. "Not anymore." Strand snarled, pulling a small weapon from his belt. He aimed it at Mason, but before he could fire, Ulick charged forward, knocking Stran's weapon from his hand and pinning him to the floor. "Enough, Stran. It's over." Stran struggled, but he couldn't break free. The strength of the Varelians and the will of the people who had nothing left to lose was too much. He was defeated. Rayla, working furiously at the black box, let out a breath of relief. "Got it. I've overridden the countdown. The weapon won't activate." The room fell silent. For a moment, no one moved. The Varelians looked around, their breathing heavy, their bodies battered. But they were alive. They had won. Mason dropped to his knees, exhaustion pulling at him. He looked at Stran, who lay on the floor, defeated and broken. "You were wrong," Mason said, his voice calm but firm. "It's not about power. It's about survival. It's about the future." Stran glared at him, but he said nothing. He knew his time was over. The Varelians gathered around, their faces weary but filled with hope. They had stopped the weapon. They had stopped Nova Prime, at least for now. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, they had something to fight for. "We won't let you down," Ulick said, looking at Mason. "You came to us, and now we're with you. Together, we'll make sure Earth survives." Mason stood, nodding slowly. "We have a long road ahead, but we're not alone anymore." Rayla smiled. "It's not just about Earth anymore. It's about all of us. Together, we fight." The group looked at each other, their eyes full of determination. They had just stopped the rise of Nova Prime. But Mason knew this was only the beginning. There were more battles to fight, more enemies to face. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, and the scars of the past would never truly fade. But with the strength of the Varelians and the resolve of Earth's fury behind them, Mason knew that they had a chance to rebuild, a chance to protect the future. And for the first time in a long time, Mason believed that humanity, no, the galaxy, had a real chance to survive.